Thunder Force. Yes, I know the backdrop here doesn't look good. It looks like a guy in his college dorm room. The bed isn't made, and I got jeans over the thing there. I get it, okay? I'm going to get it fixed. I'm working on it. Chris is working on it, okay? He's been very busy. Let's talk about this movie. This film stars Melissa McCarthy and Octavia Spencer. They get superpowers. That's the basic premise of this film. The Tigers were rained out tonight, so I figured I'd watch this, and I knew it would be bad. I knew it would be really bad, but I felt like it had the potential to be spectacularly bad, and as somebody who just loves analyzing film, I love spectacular failures, and yeah, this one falls into that category. This is a terrible, terrible movie. This is going to be one of the worst movies of the year. There is one thing about it and one thing alone, because I really tried to find something I like. I try to do that with all movies. And there is a reason why I will not give this as low a rating as I gave Music, which was basically a 0, as I gave The Tax Collector or Artemis Fowl. There is one reason. Bobby Cannavale. You've seen this guy before. He's one of the best character actors working. One of my favorite actors, period. I love this dude. I think he's great. He's good in this. The only funny moments in this comedy come from him. And I need to stress, he's not given good lines. He's not given good dialogue, but he's a great actor. He makes it work, and I was happy to see him getting work. He's one of those guys, he's like in that Sam Rockwell camp or J.K. Simmons, one of those character actors who every time they show up in a movie, they immediately make the quality of what they're in better. Yeah, that's it for the positives. There's really nothing else that I liked. This movie is directed by a man named Ben Falcone. I watched a video that John Campia made about Mr. Falcone, and he said that he's heard that Ben Falcone is one of the nicest men working. And you know what? I bet he is. I bet he's a wonderful father, a wonderful husband, and a great person. And at the end of the day, despite the criticism I'm going to have for his work, that is what matters. When years from now, when he's died of old age, that's what people are going to remember him for, as a wonderful human being. Okay, I think I said enough nice things. Ben Falcone is the worst director in Hollywood. This is a director with zero understanding of directing, storytelling, cinematography, lighting, tone, pace, comedy, structure, and everything else in between. This is one of the most poorly directed movies I think I've ever seen. I mean, this guy redefines the word hack. This man is married to Melissa McCarthy. And people, I think nepotism is the word, I believe. Maybe I'm screwing that up. Maybe my vocabulary is off, but I believe that's what it is. And people hate nepotism in the world. They hate it in Hollywood. They hate it when somebody knows somebody and they get a job because of it. And yes, I'm not a fan of it either, but I also understand that that's kind of the way things work in the world. You get your foot in the door by knowing somebody, right? It's about who you know, to quote Step Brothers. So this man is married to Melissa McCarthy, and I wanted to push back against the nepotism argument. You know what? Maybe he has merits of his own. Maybe he can direct a film. I'm sure this man is talented. I want to see. Now, his track record was terrible, and I intentionally gone out of the way to avoid his other films. This man cannot direct. He should not be directing mainstream films, period. I don't know if he could direct a Pringles commercial or a group of elderly people to walk across the street. I had 2 jokes there. I decided to use both of them. He is abhorrent with his direction here. Melissa McCarthy is talented. I don't get why she became like the biggest female comedy star, like maybe ever. Like I don't think she's that great, but she's very funny. It was one of the best Saturday Night Live hosts of all time, an extremely talented actress, and she looks awful in this movie. A lot of these people do. The only one who doesn't is Bobby Cannavale, just because he's that naturally charismatic. Comedy is difficult to direct. The movie Step Brothers, for example, has basically no premise, right? It's a flimsy story about these 2 guys who are just trying to put their lives together. But it's funny because Will Ferrell and John C. Reilly are funny, obviously. But that film is directed by Adam McKay, and Adam McKay knows when to turn off the bleeping camera. Your comedy needs structure. You can't just have people improving for the sake of improv. That's not comedy. Basic comedy, I'm literally explaining how comedy works to the people who made this movie. Basic comedy is setup and then payoff / punchline. The scene in Step Brothers where they're on the bunk beds, guy jumps on the bunk bed and it crushes Will Ferrell. That scene is not funny because a bunk bed falls on another guy. That scene is funny because for the previous 5 minutes in the film, they set up the fact that they really wanted to make bunk beds. They're working on these beds. You see them with power tools. Dale, no power tools. It's my toothbrush, Dad. Great scene. And then the payoff is the fact that despite how excited these guys were, despite the fact that they were all gung-ho about building these bunk beds, they end up collapsing in on one another and somebody gets hurt. That's basic. That's the structure of comedy. Setup, payoff. Comedy can also be surprise. I've been watching a lot of Family Guy lately, and there's a great Family Guy moment where Peter's like, well, you think that's bad? You remember the time that I had the accident in the house? And it cuts. It's one of those cutaway gags, and it's Lois on a spinning wheel and Peter holding knives. So you believe, right, based on the rule of comedy, that the accident is going to be him throwing a knife at Lois and her getting injured. So he goes, all right, Lois, ready? 3, 2, 1. Oh, I just BM'd. That's a poop joke, and that's funny because you weren't expecting that. Every joke in this movie is calculated. I'm sorry, but somebody walking into a room and getting punched in the face isn't funny. You need that structure. It's comedy 101. I'm no genius. I'm a simple man, but I know what comedy is, and they butcher it in this movie. And I know I really only have one complaint for this film, but that's enough. It's a huge net that Mr. Ben Falcone cast. And look, it looks terrible. It looks like a TV pilot. This is just a terrible movie, and it's going to be in my bottom 10. I don't know of anyone who's like this. I know it's been out for a few weeks. It does fall into the category of spectacular failure just because I think Ben Falcone, I could pluck any random BCA student from Central Michigan, and I think they could probably make a better film. 3 out of 10. I can't go lower because I love Bobby Cannavale, and I don't know. There's very few things in it that made me go, ugh. Like when I watched Music, I wanted to break my laptop across my knee. That movie made me physically angry. There's nothing in this that made me physically angry or like wanting to lash out at somebody. It just made me go a bunch because it's just so unfunny. All right, you can follow me on Twitter at Castellani2014. The link to my Twitter is in the description for this video. Hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. Let's get those watch hours up. Thank you very much for tuning in, everybody. Have a good one. Peace and happiness.